So today, I'd been wanting to do some sort of interesting request to comic book reviewer that I'm going to review Scooby-Doo and the Invaders. As I know that this was one of those animated movies that I grew up watching with, as I noticed the whole story that I knew that next month is Valentine's Day, and I adore a topic that was old as time from maybe around a long time ago. I remember discovering this 1597 tragedy called Romeo and Juliet a long time ago when this movie, which was based on a book by William Shakespeare, was said to have been some sort of a reboot movie in an outtake continuity from 1996. When I first understood why I saw this movie, I adore this topic about the whole fatal alliance of those star-crossed lovers of those who were forbidden to be with each other together when it comes to their feuding families. And this one has a more science fiction approach to it. As I noticed, the whole plot is very simple. We should not waste any time to think of it. So, it turns out that Scooby and his human guardians, Shaggy, Fred, Daphne, and Velma, have become stranded in the middle of the American southwestern desert. That they are stranded in Roswell, New Mexico, after a van got broken down. And then from that fateful night, Shaggy discovers he's not the teenager that he thought he was after discovering that he's been kidnapped by aliens. And then he notices that he was rescued by Crystal and Amber, those two girls, since Shaggy finally knew he laid his eyes on Crystal. And what I discovered and what everyone saw, the character Norville laying his eyes on Gigi, it would pay homage to this movie that we remember. As I noticed that Scooby did fall for Amber, and I noticed the whole movie is mostly about Shaggy discovering that he wants nothing more than to try and be with Crystal while the others can stay without him. So along with his dog Scooby, they understood about why the South Crew, led by Steve, Lauren, Max, that I understood why this movie is like. And also those soldiers, one of them discovers that Crystal's camera is built from some sort of unidentified technology. And then I noticed that they're both Shaggy and Crystal get stuck in a cave where they found out it's fool's gold. And they noticed that the aliens were after them. And it all leads up to this climax where, Crystal becomes that damsel in distress of what I usually saw in most cartoons like I knew of. And Shaggy had to save her, and then noticing that they were just real aliens all along. And I understood that this was just a one-sided example of star-crossed lovers. As I noticed, this was quite downplayed. I noticed that her dog Amber was also an alien too. But I pictured that something had felt off. About the climax of what I saw felt like a really huge tearjerker. But I understood why the conclusion of Invaders dealt with Shaggy and Scooby saying their goodbyes to Crystal and Amber, despite the clear feelings for each other, that in what they were forbidden from making a several light years long distance relationship. Even though it's probably a really sad moment in Scooby-Doo history known to man, in what Fred was bursting into tears to the shock of Crystal being put on a bus. And I noticed that the scene was climatically helped by this heartbreaking delivery of the two characters, the two of them being Amber and Crystal. I noticed that they said that they have to go back to their home planet where they belong to, and Shaggy felt like he's traumatized, that he's completely destroyed, and Velma just gave them the box of Scooby snacks that they had from back when it started from, and then they understood that Daphne explains to Shaggy that they have to go to college to be reunited to see their old friend Eric Stoffer. You know, just because they want to go back to the local university where it started from, it does mean this might actually have been the very last Scooby-Doo adventure that we would ever see. I felt a bit too hurtful about the whole sadly heartbreaking ice cream without not getting to go, and it was like a huge tribute to Mary Kay Bergman, who probably committed suicide a year before this movie came out. It's kind of sad, but those were the bad qualities of this whole movie. It's quite ridiculous, but I don't understand what happened to the jump to animation itself. As I noticed, this was the last Scooby-Doo animated production using hand-painted cells, but starting with Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, all subsequent productions will begin with this movie to be animated digitally for the future. It's quite as dark as I expected it to be, unlike Zombie Island, which was too confusing in my opinion, because I don't watch zombie movies I don't watch Walking Dead or Shaun of the Dead. I don't watch 28 Days Later, that's alright. As I noticed, when it comes to the whole moral event horizon that Shaggy got caught in that hoax, I felt a bit ham-fisted about what I scolded myself into doing this. But enough with the ham-related puns that I couldn't understand what I understood. I like to eat hand, but I'm not in stakeout mood. That, as I know that even by 1872 standards of that General Mining Law Act, I noticed that for a year later in 2001, after that AOL Time Warner merger, Warner Bros. Decided to give Scooby-Doo a reboot hammer because they realized they ran out of ideas for using traditional hand-drawn animation on Scooby-Doo anymore. Like I said earlier, the Aesop is you pretty much have no idea why you're trying to fall in love with some sort of monstrous girl that you met. It's kind of interesting by LGBTQ plus standards, but I say this Scooby-Doo movie is by far the best of the bunch, and I'd give this movie maybe just a 10 out of 10, because it's a lot more comic accurate and faithful to what Romeo and Juliet was. As I know that William Shakespeare might be turning his grave on Scooby-Doo, but I know it's sad that William Hanna and Joseph Abel will be turning their graves as well, since both 2001 and 2006. But that could be me signing off from now on. But I'm saving that for the next two movies. As I know, coming soon, I will be reviewing not one but two animated Halloween movies. You know what they say? It's Alvin and the Chipmunks meet Frankenstein and the Wolfman. So the reason why I chose these movies is that I will be reviewing them sometime in probably more than 60 minutes to think of. Well, more than 60 seconds. But that could be all I can say about this one. So if you'd hit the like button, you could subscribe it to you all from now on. So, bye-bye.